This is a Two Front podcast.
You got a crooked smile, well that don't bother me much. You double over working double time, you double tough. I'll just shine it up until the sun hit like a glare. I gotta dare, get the fuck up out the chair.
Happy Dentist Gang, this is a special one. Today, I'm turning the tables on our brilliant co-hosts. We're diving deep into the future of dentistry with the two visionaries that make this show happen. We're challenging everything we've been taught about how dental practices should operate and make money. Ready to hear how we can finally make prevention profitable and break free from the treatment treadmill? Kyle and Christian, let's get into it. Welcome to the Happy Dentist. Christian, Kyle, what's up?
We don't have to interrupt someone. Or I guess we can interrupt each other, but we're used to that.
Yeah, we are
So
free to do
fun.
that.
Oh,
No,
geez.
always.
So we were just talking before the show, and something that is so near and dear to all of our hearts, obviously, is this concept of proactive versus reactive dentistry, where, I mean, I don't know about you guys, UCLA and Brazil, but at NYU at least, the concept of, the concept of preventing dental work isn't something that we ever even touched on besides the oral health routine, right? What about you, Kyle, at UCLA?
Well, at USC, not UCLA. I did teach at
USC.
UCLA too. I taught at both
Right.
schools, but I went to USC. For me, a lot of this was instilled with me through Pascal Magnier because he's very much, if you have to do dentistry, do it the right way, and that should be hopefully the last time you ever have to do it. Preserve as much tooth structure as possible. We're not doing full crowns unless there's already a crown, which is very controversial still. So I can't imagine when Pascal was teaching this 25 years ago. But he really instilled in us to appreciate and love a natural tooth and love it even more than a restored tooth and just try to preserve as much as possible. So that aspect was instilled in me. I'm not sure the preventative aspect was instilled in me as much as I think it should be. What about you, Christian?
I think that, first of all, I think it's important to define to the listeners our definition of what is proactive dentistry and what is reactive dentistry, right? So then we can explore what we've done in the past, what needs to be changed into the future. Does it make sense?
I would even maybe say preventative versus reactive, because proactive almost makes me think of extension for prevention.
Doing more dental work, exactly. Preventative
Doing more
tests.
now to save later, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
it's a
that
good point.
this term comes from medicine and the new movement that, thank God, is happening in medicine, finally in Western medicine, that you need to proactively defend health, right? You need to proactively prevent illness, prevent disease. You need to proactively do things so you don't have to intervene. So that is the meaning of the term proactive. The term reactive that I use to define 99.9 of all dentistry that is done today it's that the explanation is that we usually wait until a problem happens and then we react. So we wait the teeth to be crowded to then do orthodontics. We wait a perio issue to happen to then treat or have to extract the tooth. We wait decay to happen to then restore. We wait until a smile doesn't look good to then do restorations to make the smile look good, right? So you can go on, and it's very easy to realize that everything basically that we learn in school and all the best dentists in the world are probably exploring much more reactive treatments than proactive treatments.
So it's fixing problems instead of trying to avoid the problems. Yeah,
And
preventing
we know
the
what's so
problems.
crazy? It's like, I feel like we complain, right? Like holistically as an industry globally that patients don't trust us. But imagine you went to your cancer doctor and you kept getting skin cancer and they just kept treating your skin cancer and not teaching you how to prevent that skin cancer from coming
Exactly.
back. Would you
Exactly.
trust your cancer doctor?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly that. And I use also an example about diabetes. If you have a diabetes physician claiming that she is great, and all they brag about is the number of amputations and prostheses that they install, it's like waiting until the patient advances into diabetes to the point that they need an amputation, and then brag about the fact that you did a perfect surgery and a perfect prosthesis installation. And
It's
that's
so
basically
egotistical.
that's basically what we do in dentistry. We brag about the number of implants and we brag about the number of restorations. I do 100 veneers per month, or I do X amount of implants a month. And we know that ideal world, we should be rewarding the work that we need to do to prevent the implant, to prevent the restoration.
I mean, nothing triggers me more than
Uh,
seeing dentists on Instagram who say, I'm an all on X dentist.
Yeah, every mouth that comes in gets all the teeth taken out and
Yeah,
implants
you
put
come
in.
in, we take out your teeth.
so that's another problem. When your business model is based on interventionist philosophy, you're more prone to be biased or to be pushing yourself, even unconsciously. Even if you're trying to be ethical, you're kind of unconsciously wanting people to have to lose their teeth if your business model is to make money with all on four or with implants in general. The same thing with veneers. If you make a lot of money with aligners, what do you want to see in front of you? You want to
Oh,
see crowding.
crooked teeth.
You want
You
to
want to
see
see crooked teeth?
you smile inside, right? You smile inside. And when you see patients that need veneers, you're like, I love doing veneers. Uh,
Christian,
and
you said the thing that I think is the challenging part of this topic, which is I'm trying to think of how to say it well, but is
be careful,
basically
Kyle. We already have some haters right out
Well,
there.
I'll
So
say it, Kyle. I'll say it. I'll say it. I think I know what you're going to say, which is that our business model as dentists is built on doing dental work, not
yeah.
on preventing it, right? It's which
So
is,
how do
you
we
know,
incentivize dentists to be more preventative? And I ultimately think that the answer to that is educating the patients on the value of prevention. Because if we could somehow convince our patients to say, listen, you come to me, it's expensive, but guess what? I'm going to keep your teeth your whole life. You're not going to have periodontal disease. I'm going to prevent decay in your mouth. You're not going to have crowding. It's going to look good, whatever, all of this stuff. But you need to pay me for that.
but look, it's a big battle to fight, right? It's huge battle to fight because uh, the whole industry is towards intervening and treating and cutting back and extracting, right? The whole pharmaceutical industry, one of the most powerful industries in the world, is based on illness. You have to get sick. The food industry is connected to that, wanting you to get sick almost, right? Wanting you to feed you with bad stuff, wanting to make you addicted to all the bad stuff, and then you get sick, right? The insurance world is all driven to pay you if you intervene, if you treat, right? So the whole system is crooked, 100%. But at least we need to start talking about it, right? And we know once in a while we see people talking about, oh, the ancient Chinese medicine was the opposite, or the Hindu philosophy of health was the opposite. Yeah, uh, it was. So we just need to relearn these philosophies and leverage new technologies, of course, but with that philosophy of prevention.
and then also creating a business model where dentists can capitalize on that. It's a fundamentally new business model that, like you're saying, Christian, it completely surpasses insurance. It's getting rid of dental insurance.
So we cannot be naive thinking that we doctors we are so ethical that we don't care about making money. We do, and that is the problem, the conflict of interest. If there was one industry that maybe, hopefully, in an ideal world, hundreds of years ahead of us, we would not have financial conversation, should probably be the health world, right? Um, I don't know, idealistically, naively speaking.
That's pretty idealistic
Yeah,
because it's so hard to become a healthcare provider that there has to be some incentive for people to do it, even more than just
but
helping
imagine
people.
imagine a system where the society awards that, and you, by becoming a doctor, you get the awards, of reputation and financially, in a system that rewards prevention, rewards
Oh,
health,
that would be
right?
incredible.
Uh,
So
Yeah.
I've actually been going super deep on this. I've been going super, super deep on how we can do this because listen, capitalism isn't going anywhere. We've tried we've tried different systems. So like we've got to make it work within capitalism.
100%.
So my question for both of you is let's say the world was your family and you're trying to prevent your family from getting dental work. What would you actually do? What would you tell them?
Are you
I,
talking
I
about
can.
like treatments, things that will help?
Preventative care. If you want to have your patient never, who is you're treating them like your family, right? Never get a cavity, never get a crown, never break a tooth, never have to get dental work.
Mhm.
How would you help them get there?
I think one of the biggest ones is early ortho,
Mm,
guiding the bones into the correct position. I personally think that ortho in the future will be done
I,
on
I
children less
would
than
call it
7 years old.
orthopedics. More than ortho is orthopedics, oral orthopedics. So it's helping the structures to grow properly when you're 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, before people even start thinking about ortho, right?
100%.
My goal in the future with the ortho world would be 90% of ortho is done before a kid is 8 years old. And when they're 13, 14, all the teeth are finally in, we do tiny little leveling, and that's
But
basically
that's
it. But
cosmetics, right?
yeah, but
That's
we've
because
grown the bone
that's uh
into we've grown the bone to where the teeth will fit in there. I mean, it's funny you see it with my son. My son started ortho at 4, and he has no interproximal decay. Why? Because he has so much space between his teeth. Like, he doesn't even have contacts
mhm.
in his
Kids should
primary
have
teeth, which is
space.
how it should be, right?
Kids should have space, yeah, and
Yeah.
you see less and less that space. So I think that we need to change the culture. We need to change the awareness, and it all starts with people talking about it, right? That there is a different world, there is a different type of care. We see that starting to happen in medicine. Find me top people, influencers talking about it. Suddenly, the people that are against intervening are getting more followers than the people that are master intervening, right? And dentistry just needs to follow that.
So let's align on something, Christian and Kyle. If patients had an aligned bite and straight teeth, and they had an excellent oral health routine, would they still get dental work?
I would say if there's a catastrophic or an
An
accident,
accident, an
like you can
accident.
have perfect teeth and then you bite on an olive pit and you can break a tooth.
Yeah,
That's first,
yeah.
that can
Okay, so
happen.
so accidents. So we could eradicate dentistry, right? We as
No,
an industry.
no, because cosmetics will always exist. The way even the best medicine in the world, you still have space for plastic surgery.
Okay.
Because if we are uncomfortable with something on ourselves, we have the right to change it. We can change it, right?
Cosmetics, right. But
Cosmetics.
anything, but that's something that a patient wants. Dental care, though, that patients don't want, right? Like they don't want a crown. They don't want.
Accident. It's down to accident.
I think the hard part, Ingrid, with yes, we grow the perfect bone. Yes, the teeth are straight. The contacts are great. The bite is good. We have the problem with human nature that is people don't want to put the work in early. They would rather fix it later. And so a lot of that is like if you have perfect teeth, perfect bite, everything is good, your bone is great, airway's perfect, but you eat like shit, you're still gonna get cavities.
Yeah. So we're
You
talking
don't
about
brush and floss, you
habits.
don't see the dentist regularly for cleanings, then you're probably
It's
gonna get
gonna
gum
happen
disease.
less and less. We see
Yeah.
technologies. You are exposed to these technologies, Kyle, that will almost eliminate decays completely. You
Mhm.
know, and but there's a certain investment that you need to do in yourself or in your kids at the early age, and education and awareness and so on to allow you to prevent some of the things. Of course, that in general, we need to work for humans to be more healthy in general, right? And again, the conversation is just starting. That you see a lot of people suddenly fighting against the food industry for the first time ever, fighting against the pharmaceutical industry for the first time ever, saying the things out loud, right? Of course, everybody's starting to get more aware. People want to live longer. People are realizing that we've been living longer, but not for the right reasons. Not for the right reasons, right? If you take some of the developments on the early last sense, so people are actually living less than more. If it was only counting their habits, right? So we moved backwards on the last century when it comes to habits, but people are starting to talk, and I hope that the next century we're gonna get back into a positive curve, And as we eat healthy, as we exercise, we have kids that are healthier. Kids are developing their jaws better again. They're breathing better. They're taking less antibiotics, so they're having less and allergies, so they're breathing better. And as they're breathing better with 1, 2, 3 years, they are developing the bones better. You have more space. You have less perio conditions. You have less decay. You have more natural aesthetics. Less
More
people will
natural
want.
aesthetics.
More people will not need to even worry about aesthetics. So
Yeah.
I
Less
think
jaw
that's
surgery, less
less Josh.
ortho as
Yeah, exactly.
adults,
Hmm.
less cosmetics because you're just most of the time, if you're healthier, you look better.
Yeah,
Just in
exactly.
general,
Exactly.
a healthy face,
There is a direct
tends to
link.
that breathes
Hmm.
better,
Hmm.
tends, not always,
Hmm.
but tends to be more aesthetically pleasing.
Hmm.
So to circle it back to what we're saying, which is that we need a business model for dentists to capitalize on the future, right? The future is preventing, and when I say the future, like, this is our lifetime, right? Like Christian, what you're talking about, Mark Hyman. I just saw the Brian Johnson documentary. For any listener who hasn't seen the Brian Johnson documentary, he lives
I need
in
to watch
Venice,
that. Is that on
LA.
Netflix?
Yes, it is.
Netflix, yeah.
He is living the future of healthcare in a nutshell. He's incredible. So this is the future, right? For dentists is how do we help our patients prevent dental work? And we're
Hold
saying
on. Let's talk about Brian Johnson real quick. He had no prep veneers.
he had veneers.
No prep
Yeah,
veneers is what he said.
Yeah.
yeah, because he had dark teeth, right? Probably tetracycline or something like that. So you would
Oh, were
see
they
he
Yeah.
that
already.
dark?
They were
I
darker.
think they
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
I
significant
don't know
then.
if that was the reason, but it looked
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It looked like it was internal.
Now, a lot of people, I looked on the comments on his post about his veneers, and there were, of course, not a lot of non-dentists, but then a lot of dentists too chiming in. And I think with veneers, most of us think that we're shaving down teeth to create a tooth that looks nicer. What's interesting with how I was taught with Pascal is if you have a patient that has lost tooth structure, a veneer can actually strengthen the tooth. But usually that's not the case, right? Usually people are prepping too much.
Mhm.
So there's some interesting research on that. But I just wanted to throw that out because
Mhm,
I know that
mhm,
there would be
mhm.
dentists on here that are like, but he had veneers.
It's a very significant cultural moment for Brian Johnson to get veneers, like the most pro health person ever,
Yeah.
considering that we've said so many times that taking away tooth structure takes away the health of the tooth.
But there's space for everything, right? So the dentistry of the future, you will have cosmetics because we want to look better, and some people will want that, even though they don't need that. For me, the point is not to eliminate cosmetic dentistry, but it's to call it by the right name. Cosmetic dentistry is a superficial treatment for immediate satisfaction that many times does bring some harm to your health. And you need to pay the price. You want to look better, you need to pay the price, and you as a patient, you need to be conscious about it and make that decision. And instead of saying that I'm a cosmetic dentist, so I'm a doctor, so I'm taking care of your health, and I'm going to do veneers because it's going to be better for your health. No, it's not. It's going to be worse, hopefully little worse, not much, and you're going to look better and you're going to be happier because you're going to look better. That's a fair conversation. The problem for me that I always say is that in dentistry, we mix things. At least in medicine, that is far from being perfect, this specific problem doesn't exist because plastic surgeons don't try to convince people that they're selling health or longevity. They're
But you know
like,
what's
you're
so cool, Christian? You know
uh,
what's so cool? Like, what I am starting to learn is that podcasts really do have the ability to change the future because people that can get on this platform and talk outside of regulation, right? Outside of insurance, outside of dental schools. This is happening in finance, it's happening in healthcare. So I think that in our lifetime, we can talk about what does this utopian dental future look like? And I'm 100% convinced with you. I think there's a world where we branch out and there's the cosmetic dentist and then there's the preventative health dentist, where the preventative health dentist, 20% of their revenue comes from dental work because, like you're saying, Kyle, there's always going to be
Things happen.
accidents, things are going to happen. But let's create a business model where 80% of their revenue comes from prevention.
let's even create a third group. So probably what's going to happen is that you're going to have the cosmetic dentist and it's going to be very clear what they do, what they don't do. And you know exactly when you want to go to them, right? Immediate personal satisfaction, knowing exactly the downside. There is the proactive longevity prevention dentist that hopefully in the future will be 80% of dentistry, 70% of dentistry. And there is the interventionist dentist, the great surgeon, the great prosthodontist, right? The great orthodontic surgeon. Uh, so the proactive dentist, the prevention dentist, doesn't need to even know that. They refer to them whenever you really need. So first, you need to prevent. Second, you need to revert before even intervening. And more we're going to have technologies to revert process. And I would say that orthodontics will be in between intervening and reverting. Ortho is kind of trying to revert the situation, right, in a non-invasive way. And that's why ortho has a huge role in this type of modern dentistry.
I have a proposal that I'd like both of your intakes on. This is my proposal for the utopian future of preventive dentistry. I am with you. I think that ortho is foundational. So we've established that having a straight teeth and a healthy bite and helping patients establish good habits, both eating and brushing and flossing, right, is the key to
Breathing
preventing most
and
dental
breathing
work
and
and
breathing
breathing.
above all,
Okay.
most important than all.
So
First of all,
let's talk about this 80% dentist that we're talking about, right? Which is helping patients prevent dental work in the first place. My proposal for a business model of the future, screw insurance, right? Is that dentists are charging a subscription fee,
yeah.
like a lot of people. I don't know if you guys follow Modern Animal. My dog is on Modern Animal, telehealth platform for my dog. So whenever she's sick, whenever I have questions, food questions, whatever, I pay $19.99 a month, right? To have 24/7 access. So
Amazing.
dentists, there's 200,000 dentists in the country. There's 330 million people. Most people would pay 4 cups of coffee, 2 cups of coffee, depending on what city you're in, to have access to a preventative dentist and a virtual orthodontist, not to self-promote too much. But if a dentist can have access to give their patients virtual orthodontic care, straight teeth and a healthy bite, and install the habits to prevent dental work, that's my future for how dentists can make money by
But you know who,
preventing dental
you
work.
know what specialty should start with that? Pediatric dentistry. They should
Mm,
start that tomorrow. Because when you have a baby, you meet this future idealistic dentist that says, look, I'm going to take care of your baby from when is 0 to 20 years old, or 18 or 16, let's say 17, whatever, right? And everything I'm going to do is based on prevention and avoiding problems. You need to pay me a membership from 0 to 18, right? And I can do the math. Very simple. That if you pay this membership for 18 years, it's going to be less than you paying for the treatments after the problem is there, right? So you can make an average normal person from 0 to 30 with the normal problems that most people have is going to be more expensive to treat them after the problem is there than taking care of prevention. But the prevention needs to be holistic. It's not prevention on the gate.
How do you do that? Because, okay, so I'm one of these crazy dentist parents with kids. You know, my son started ortho. I brush and floss, and I have an explorer that I use in his mouth every night. I scale his teeth, right? I'm insane. How do you do that when so much of that revolves around the parents' habits at home,
I
the
know.
diet? How do
Yeah.
you kind of guarantee that you're going to prevent these problems if they're eating shit at home?
Yeah.
Christian, what do you, I have an answer. What do you think?
So first of all, let's see what this modern parent with this modern dentist should worry about, right? We are talking about stimulating and guiding growth. That's number one, right? So this new relationship needs to be aware that natural growth, because of many reasons, are not getting where we want. So from 1, 2 years old, we need to stimulate and guide this growth. And then we're talking about diet. So it's definitely not a huge one. And we are talking about hygiene habits. So basically, these are the three things, right, that we need to be aware and control. Now, all of them are based on the habits that you have at home.
With the
And how
parents.
many times, I'm not eating sugar for the last 30 days myself, but my kids are. And I'm questioning myself. Like, I'm doing this effort to myself, and I'm allowing my kids to eat sugar, like, more than they should. So it is a tough battle that will take more than one generation to fight, right?
I
I don't
always
know
say
the I
that
don't know the answer.
I always say the best art is steal. So, like, what can we take from other industries? And I mean, I don't know about you guys. Did you guys like history class? Like, were you actually
Yeah.
paying attention? Like, for
Yes.
I feel like
I
guys
wasn't paying
typically do.
attention then. I
I
pay
didn't.
attention now.
I love
Yeah.
history.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love history now, but my point of what I was going to say is that typically, like, you learn about Alexander Hamilton and it's boring, right? What Lin Manuel had, what is his name?
I forget. He has 3 names.
Lin Manuel Miranda. Have you guys seen his play, Hamilton?
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh my God, it's like life-changing. Like, you see that play and you fall in love with the entire story of Alexander Hamilton. So for me, the answer is entertainment. How do we make people want to do this? It's entertainment. We make this, to your point, Christian, from the time you're a kid, we start feeding content on a subscription to kids and their parents
Look,
on the importance of it.
being healthy needs to be cool.
Exactly.
Not being beautiful. Being beautiful shouldn't be the cool thing. Being healthy should be the cool thing, right?
Beauty should be the side effect.
Yeah, it's just a consequence, you're that's a
Well,
detail.
I think you're right, Ingrid, that what you're saying is really education. You're just saying we have to do education right, because I know all of you have probably had this. Ingrid, I don't know if you have friends that have kids or not, but I know Christian and I have friends that will say, hey, I'm at the dentist with my son, they're 7 or they're 5 or whatever, and they're saying we've got to do these 2 crowns and they've got to get a tooth taken out and all this stuff. And I say, well, send me the x-rays, I'll take a look. I'm like, holy crap, yeah, there's bombed out teeth. I mean, there's caries everywhere. And these are people that I think are fairly healthy, that are eating right at home. I mean, one example that I'm thinking of is a family member, and I know they like eat everything organic, and this reverse osmosis water, and like they're very into health, but I don't think they have the education. So they may be sending their kid to bed with milk, or thinking that brushing in the morning is more important than brushing in the
You just
evening, or
don't know what you
little
don't
things
know.
like that.
Mm,
And so
mhm.
if my son is 8, he doesn't have any cavities, but it's because I'm crazy about it,
Well, I
you
think
know?
Christian nailed it. I really think you nailed it, Christian. People have not thought that taking care of your teeth is cool. People think everything else in health is cool. And I think that's our job. And that's what I consider edutainment, and where I think the future of dentistry is. If we're truly going to help patients prevent dental work, I think it's two things. I think it's setting orthodontics as a foundation and giving people the
Ingrid,
tools to make it cool.
what it means to take care of your mouth. People think that putting 12 beautiful veneers is taking care of your mouth. Taking care of your mouth is taking care of the way you breathe and the way you bite, right? And everything is a consequence. You need,
Maybe
if
your
you
oral
breathe better,
microbiome as
yeah,
well, if
and
you get
so,
that.
but if you breathe better, you help that as well, right?
Yeah.
Everything is connected, right? And you need to look at the things that you're eating. We just need to pay attention. We cannot continue like this. It's insane what smart people are doing to themselves.
Well, the first issue is that people don't realize that what they're eating
Is
affects their
wrong.
oral
That's the
health.
education. Yeah, I mean, you
It's
guys,
awareness.
I know, Ingrid, you being in LA, you have friends that put lemon in their water the
Oh,
whole day. And they're
my
like,
own
this is healthy,
sister.
right? Because, like, the acid, and so good for my gut. And this, I'm like, it may be, but you're destroying your teeth.
My
Uh,
sister's
And
teeth
then
are
they
like
then they
this
complain why
thin.
their teeth are dark. It's like, well, of course your teeth are
Exactly.
dark because you don't have any enamel.
They've lost their enamel and they have no idea, because you know what won? What won is the influencer who said this is good for your body, and health, general health won over oral
but
health.
and you know what is probably something that contributes a lot to this is the sensation that this is creating a problem, but dentistry can do a miracle and fix it. Meaning,
Mm,
if I have decay, implant is better than a tooth.
yeah,
If I'm taking destroying, I do veneers. Veneers are better than teeth. I see
right.
all these guys, these masters on Instagram saying that veneers are like teeth, or veneers are better than teeth, that veneers don't stain, that they last, I don't know how
It's a
long.
good point.
So at the end, if I have a tendency for cancer, and for some reason a physician creates the hope that my type of cancer can be cured, he just gave me the reason to care a little bit less about the problem.
So true. It
Exactly.
all comes down to education. It's like everything we've been
Literally.
talking about is education, educating the patient to know what they can do at home to prevent, educating the doctors to know how they can educate the patients. Like it all comes down to education,
And the
really.
problem is that we've been educating our patients based on what insurance pays us. So we're like, we'll see you twice a year for 10 minutes and hopefully you're going to remember and, implement this, which is why I think a subscription where when someone's brushing their teeth every night is so important.
So let's say it out loud here. Restorations, it doesn't matter the dentist, are much worse than teeth. Period.
Of course.
Implants are much worse than teeth.
Yeah,
So
Christian, I always say, I love implants. I have it, my license plate says implants. I think you've seen it before. But implants are a great restoration, or a great substitute for a missing tooth. They're not a
yes.
great substitute for a tooth.
But why is that tooth missing in the first place? Like,
Exactly.
that tooth shouldn't be missing. Like, if we're actually treating patients like they're our family, right? Like, that's what we should be doing as healthcare providers. We're not like, can't wait to place that
Mhm,
implant.
mhm, mhm. But I have, I have, of course, the privilege to have a family in dentistry that goes back more than 100 years. We literally have patients that are 95, 100 years old, okay, with all the teeth in the mouth, no endo treatments, with little micro gold restorations that were done 70, 80 years ago and are still there. And the person has all the teeth in the mouth, healthy gum, you know. So one of the we have to say it out loud here as well, unfortunately. A movement that came with great intentions and made dentistry something that everybody talks about actually worked against the process long term, and that is aesthetic dentistry. You know, when aesthetic dentistry came, in the 70s, etc., people didn't really care, about details that they care today. I wanted to be healthy. People were doing these treatments with my grandfather in the 30s and 40s. They wanted to bite and they wanted to function and they didn't want to have problems. So the right mentality, I want to function, I want to work, I want to be healthy, and I don't want headaches. Do as little as you can. That was dentistry for 100 years, right? And then aesthetics came and we say, you need this, but we can do a little bit more and make it look better. And that's when we went downhill into the 80s and the 90s and exploded on the 2000s, where people are doing just insane things with their mouth in the name of aesthetics.
And now in the past 25 years, or 15 years, it's really accelerated because now everyone sees the veneer dentist on Instagram. They see all the celebrities with veneers.
Social
So
media,
You see it
boom.
more.
it's
Yeah.
so we're like living in this what's the opposite of utopian, like dystopian reality right now. But this is where I think that truly we have such an opportunity to change and influence. I had just had one of our two front members reach out to me saying, "Hey, your podcast with Nat is really, really impacted me. Like these are things that no one's been saying for 20 years." So I just want to highlight for our listeners, these are tough conversations to have because it is the opposite of what we learned in dental school. It's the opposite of what insurance, tells us to do. It's the opposite of what social media says is cool right now, right?
I
But
love how
it's what's
Christian said that
best.
too. I would love to see kids and adults saying having a healthy mouth is cool. Like
100%.
making healthy mouths cool
Yeah.
again.
That should be the slogan, right? That should be this. And look, just for people don't get me wrong, I am an aesthetic dentist. I my whole life, digital smile design was born in restorative aesthetic dentistry. The initiators of the aesthetic dentistry movement had the best intentions, and basically the intention was, if we do need to restore, let's learn how to make it look natural, right? If we do need to restore, let's learn how to make it natural. If you're missing the four anteriors and we're going to place two implants, let's learn how to make these 4-unit bridge the best possible looking bridge.
If
If you
you
have
have to.
if
If
you
you
have
have to.
to, if you have to. And that line is kind of a gray zone, and that you can push it forward or backwards, and depending on many, many factors, what the patient wants and the financial interest of the dentist. And then you see this huge gray zone in what is actually needed.
We complain as an industry that patients don't trust us, right? But if this is how we're operating, why are we going to expect them to trust us?
It's hard to trust us when we have financially driven diagnosis. That's harder.
Exactly.
When we diagnose more, we make more money. I think one of the great ways to do that is the more minimally invasive a treatment is, the more it costs. So a filling costs more than a crown because I'm being more minimally invasive. I'm saving more tooth structure. I'm preventing potentially the crown if you already
Yeah,
See,
have the
but
Kyle, I have no
I
hope in insurance. This is where I think that
I'm not talking about
software is going to
insurance. I'm never talking
save.
it's
about
the
insurance.
membership.
I don't even
It's
think
the
about
membership.
insurance.
It's the
The
membership fee.
health membership. You need that. I think that's the way, the health membership. Or
I like that.
you pay for appointment. Like physicians, they make money per appointment. So
Well, Christian, this is where I think that we should be talking about what real freedom is to dentists because
Mm.
I know, I think I might have told you this, Kyle. My mom was just diagnosed with something in her head. There's something. We don't know what it is. You can see it on the MRI. My dad's like ironically a neurologist, and he knows everyone, right? He like sends the MRI to 25 pediatric or not pediatric radio neurologists. They can't figure out what it is. So my mom's a doctor. She's finally stopped working. She's never not worked her entire life. And I think the problem with healthcare is that we think of wealth as financial wealth, but we're not talking about our time wealth. And so I think traditionally as dentists, we're like, we're going to, do that implant, do the veneer, do that ortho, whatever it is,
Mm.
but we're losing real wealth. We're losing time wealth. And so if we redistribute how we think of wealth and we really want freedom, that's how I think that we capitalize on dentistry as an industry. Because if we can sit on our couch or if we can sit on a beach and be making money by supporting our patients through education and virtual orthodontics, everyone wins, right?
The movement will happen from outside in. What I mean is from the patients towards the doctors. People will get aware of this, right? The same way that at this point, everybody that has resources are starting to look to preventive medicine and starting to look for these
I'll tell you,
physicians.
yeah, all of my very
That
rich
is the big,
friends,
it's not
they're
plastic
all about
surgery
preventive
anymore.
medicine,
It's
stem
not a fan.
cells. Yeah, they have
Exactly,
concierge
exactly.
doctors that prevent stuff. Like
Yep,
I have
that's
some
it.
very, very wealthy friends, and that's exactly what they're into.
So the public needs to look at the dentist with the same perspective. By the way, that is also going to happen because all these amazing preventive physicians that are now starting to make money because rich people are paying a lot for them to prevent problems and to live longer with quality. They're going to start to realize that the oral health plays a huge role, and they will start to push for this new era in dentistry, or this new way of doing dentistry that you can call the oral physician. The oral physician will play a completely new role because the rest of the body cannot work if the mouth is not working properly. And this is completely disconnected. So you see more and more people talking about the body mouth connection, the oral systemic link. So, yes, things are moved by money. And the good news is that there's a huge opportunity because the oral physician environment has no owner. No owner. Nobody owns it. Dentists need the physicians. Nobody owns it. I would say that dentists have the first right of a refusal to this opportunity. It's like a bit, the opportunity is on the table. It's in our hands, and we can embrace it and we can own it, and we can become part of this modern team that will generate systemic health for people. Now, if we don't take that space, the medical
Someone
world
else
will,
will. Yeah,
somewhere
someone
else
else
will.
will. Christian, I think that we have more power than we think. I think if we're talking about who's like the godfather of preventative medicine right now, I would say it's Mark Hyman, Dr. Mark Hyman. So it started with the doctor. And so I think that if we can have this conversation with dentists who are future thinking, and we can talk about what does this business model look like, this oral physician, right? Or this preventative dentist. What is this business model to help dentists make money without doing dental work? I think people will start to realize I don't have to treat. I can prevent dental disease.
But it's understanding the systemic link. Understanding if you say I'm a preventive dentist and all you do is hygiene sessions and you clean the teeth and you prevent decay, this is not the modern definition of preventive dentistry. We are talking about preventing breathing problems, preventing heart disease,
Diabetes,
preventing
brain
diabetes,
function.
brain
It's
function,
everything. It's
Alzheimer,
everything.
right? Chronic pain, circulation, heart disease. You go over and over and over, and many of these things are directly connected to the mouth. So this is the modern preventive dentist.
So
Yeah.
it goes back to what we're saying before, which is awareness and education. So how do we make dentists aware of all of those things? We don't learn that in dental school, right? We might have had one slide and one presentation, and then it got tucked away. But because dentists don't capitalize on that, dentists weren't reinforced on that. So
Mhm.
how do we help dentists understand all of that in the
I-
first place?
I can tell you there's a revolution right around the corner. And all the pieces of the puzzle of a revolution are getting into place to explode. You see all the big corporations investing to generate solutions in this body mouth connection. You see all DSO CEOs worried or caring about this topic and wanting to learn more and wanting to invest on it. You see major influencers and players wanting to know more, wanting to learn more, just enough to start talking about it. And everything is happening simultaneously. So you have the business foundation being set, you have the opinion leaders coming on board, you have academic people starting to actually do some research about it. Uh, the Silicon Valley, if you talk about dentistry in Silicon Valley, is 99% about the body mouth connection. It's not about the scanner, it's not about the x-ray, it's not about AI. All these things are secondary, close to the next big thing. So it's going to happen. The question is, you, the dentist, do you want to be at the end of the line, or do you want to be ahead of the game?
Yeah,
A
and I think
100%.
that's a nice way to bring this into land today. I think when I think about what we discussed, talking about being more preventative, but not how we think about being more preventative, maybe
Yeah.
proactive is the word,
Yeah.
then being more reactive. We need to educate everybody. That's the dentist, the patient, the parents, the children. I think
The
one of the big
physician.
the
Ourselves
physicians,
first. We need to change
ourselves, yeah,
our mindset. We start with our
self-awareness.
mindset. Yes.
I think one of the big takeaways for me was making a healthy mouth be cool is kind of a cool thing. I like that. I don't know. Was there anything else that I missed in the summary?
We know all about this, to the listeners. We are also in this journey. We are also learning.
Trying to figure it out.
I'm just excited about the fact that I'm realizing how much I don't know and how much I want to know and how much I'm open to this new type of care in dentistry. It just makes me excited that we are even talking about this. 5 years ago, we would never be talking about this topic, right? And nowadays, you have a lot of people talking about this. So it's about being humble, being open, and wanting to do better for our patients.
It's super cool. I'm so happy that we finally had this conversation. First of many.
We will repeat this.
If you want us to do more on these where it's just us hosts, or if you like the guests, we like doing both, but this is kind of a fun one for us.
Your feedback would be amazing.
And if you hate it as well, let us know.
But we're still probably going to do it.
Absolutely.
You're going to do it anyway.